Hello and a very good evening. You're watching the news at 6 on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses mega rally ahead of elections in Gujarat's capital Gandhinagar, says party will always work to fulfill the dreams of every Gujarati with full strength and vigour. Two-story residential building collapses in Bengaluru after a cylinder blast. 7 people killed and 3 injured as rescue personnel look for survivors in the debris. Wholesale inflation comes down to 2.6% in September after touching 4-month high of 3.24% in August. And over 270 people killed and more than 300 injured in one of the deadliest blasts in Somalian capital Mogadishu. Government blames Al-Shabaab insurgents. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the Gujarat Gaurav Sammelan in Gandhinagar on Monday. The event was organized by the state BJP to celebrate the conclusion of the party's Gujarat Gaurav Yatra. The home state of the Prime Minister is slated to go to polls later this year.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi and BJP President Amit Shah presiding over the conclusion of BJP's Gujarat Gaurav Yatra in Gandhinagar on Monday. Speaking at the event, the Prime Minister appreciated Amit Shah for taking the party to new heights.
बहुत दल इस देश ने देखे हैं, बहुत सरकारें देखी हैं, धन बल पर चलने वाली पार्टियां, बाहुबल पे चलने वाली पार्टियां, वंशवाद पर पलने वाली पार्टियां, इसके सामने 100% लोकतांत्रिक व्यवस्था से नीचे की इकाई से ऊपर तक पार्टी को चलाने का काम भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने करके दिखाया है। मैं पार्टी के राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष और इसी धरती के संतान अमित भाई का आज बधाई देना चाहता हूं। हिंदुस्तान के हर कोने में भारतीय जनता पार्टी का विजय ध्वज फहराने में वो कामयाब हुए हैं।
In his speech, the Prime Minister also lashed out at the opposition parties for creating an atmosphere of pessimism.
मेरी बहुत इच्छा थी कि कभी कांग्रेस विकास के मुद्दे पर चुनाव लड़ने की हिम्मत करे, लेकिन मैंने देखा है या तो कौमी सांप्रदायिक तनाव वाले इशू उठाना, लोगों को भड़काना, चुनाव निकाल देना, या तो जातिवादी जहर फैलाना, लोगों को बांटना, चुनाव निकाल देना, या तो लोगों को भ्रमित करना, चुनाव निकाल देना। विकास की कॉन्क्रीट बातों के आधार पर कांग्रेस पार्टी कभी चुनाव लड़ने की हिम्मत नहीं की है। मुझे आशा थी इस बार गुजरात में कम से कम विकास के मुद्दे पर चुनाव लड़ने के लिए हमारी चुनौती को कांग्रेस प्रकार स्वीकार करेगी, लेकिन कांग्रेस पार्टी में वो दम नहीं है।
BJP President Amit Shah also took a swipe at Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi.
જે અમેઠીએ તમને સંસદની અંદર મોકલ્યા એ અમેઠીમાં કલેક્ટર ઓફિસ ન બનાવી શકનારા રાહુલ ગાંધી આજે ગુજરાતમાં ભારતીય જનતા પાર્ટીનો હિસાબ માંગવા। મિત્રો એ પૂછે છે, રાહુલ જીનું એક ભાષણ મેં જોયું કે मोदी जी को आपने प्रधानमंत्री बना दिया, मोदी जी ने गुजरात को क्या दिया? મિત્રો હું રાહુલ ગાંધીને જવાબ આપવા માંગુ છું। આપું કે નહીં કહો જરા, જોરથી કહો, આપું કે નહીં? ભાઈ રાહુલ, નરેન્દ્ર ભાઈએ તો વડાપ્રધાન બનતા પહેલા જ ગુજરાતને કશું ના આપવું પડે એવું ગુજરાત બનાવી દીધું હતું।
Ahead of the Prime Minister's rally, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi took pot shots at the Prime Minister and the BJP, saying rhetoric rained down on poll-bound Gujarat. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
7 people were killed and 3 were injured after a 2-story residential building collapsed on Monday due to cylinder blast in Ejipura area of Bengaluru. Meanwhile, rescue operations are on to pull out more people. According to officials, the death toll is likely to go up.
A two-story building collapsed in Ejipura area of Bengaluru city on Monday after a suspected LPG cylinder blast. Eyewitnesses heard the blast at around 7 a.m., after which the 20-year-old building was reduced to rubble. Nearly 40 firefighters and NDRF personnel were engaged in trying to rescuing people still feared trapped under the debris.
According to owners, this is not a too old building, about 15 to 20 years. And I inquired with ground floor and the first floor tenants, those who are in hospital. According to them, not gas, most probably because of building collapse.
The Karnataka government announced a compensation of 5 lakh rupees each to the next of kin of the deceased and 50,000 rupees for the injured.
One girl, she has been found alive.
Survived.
Yeah, she has survived. And whoever died, we will give a compensation of 5 lakhs each. And injured people will give 50,000 for immediate medical and all. And that girl, child, we will adopt the thing, and we will take care of her education and all the things that government.
Parents have died of that girl?
Yeah, the parents have died.
Reports said the building belonged to a person, Gunesh, who rented the building to 4 families. On 13th August, a similar cylinder blast in Ejipura had shattered house windows, car windshields and properties. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Well, wholesale inflation came down to 2.6% in September after touching a 4-month high of 3.24% in August. The fall in the wholesale price index was led by falling prices of food articles, led by vegetables. Government data also showed that inflation in food articles tapered to 2.04% in September as against 5.75% in August on a yearly basis. Inflation in manufacturing products saw a slight increase at 2.72% against 2.45% in August. In the fuel and power segment, inflation cooled to 9.01% against 9.99% in August. Data released earlier this week showed retail inflation at 3.28% in September, unchanged from August, even as vegetable and cereal prices softened. Well, security forces have unearthed a militant module with the arrest of 3 militants from Kulgam district of Jammu and Kashmir. Inspector General of Police Kashmir Munir Khan today claimed that 3 militants, 2 from the Lashkar-e-Toiba and 1 from the Hizbul Mujahideen, were arrested over the past 3 days from South Kashmir. He also said a joint party of the police, the army and CRPF established a checkpoint and nabbed the militants. Arms and ammunition was also recovered from them. He added that the terrorists were involved in the 2 bank robberies that took place in South Kashmir last week.
Sticking to our commitment, in last 3 days we have apprehended 3 militants. इनसे मौके पे ही आर्म्स एम्यूनिशन जिसमें पिस्टल, ग्रेनेड और बाकी लाइव एम्यूनिशन है वहाँ बरामद किया गया। में ये इन दोनों का ताल्लुक लश्कर-ए-तोयबा के साथ है।
Well, Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman commissioned the indigenously built anti-submarine warfare stealth corvette INS Kiltan, at the Eastern Naval Command in Visakhapatnam on Monday. Kiltan is the latest indigenous warship to have joined the Indian Navy's arsenal, wherein a plethora of weapons and sensors have been integrated to provide a common operational picture. This is also India's first major warship to have a superstructure of carbon fiber composite material, resulting in improved stealth features, lower top weight and maintenance costs. Navy Chief Admiral Sunil Lanba, Flag Officer Commanding-in-Chief of Eastern Naval Command HS Bisht, and other senior officers attended the event at the Naval Dockyard. Speaking on the occasion, the Defence Minister said INS Kiltan will be a shining armour in our Make in India program. The stealth corvette has been designed by the Indian Navy's in-house body, the Directorate of Naval Design. Well, in the run-up to the 19th Congress of Chinese Communist Party, the Tibetan government in exile has accused Chinese government of cultural genocide in Tibetan territory. The Tibetan government in exile has asked the Chinese government to initiate dialogue to resolve the issues related to those living on mainland Tibet. Lobsang Sangay, the head of the Tibetan government in exile, was presenting a case against the style of the ethnic isolation of nomad and resident Tibetans.
Ahead of the 19th Party Congress of the Communist Party of China in Beijing, the chief of Tibetan government in exile, Lobsang Sangye, is demanding that China formulate a policy on starting a dialogue on Tibetan issues.
That now the 19th plenum of the Communist Party is happening in few days' time, on October 18th. No? And after that, when Xi Jinping consolidates his position, when he becomes the leader again, we want the Chinese leadership to realize that the repressive policies of the Chinese government, cultural assimilation of the Tibetan people, it will not work. It has not worked for 60 years, it will not work. Now more liberal policies are needed where we can have a dialogue between the envoys of the Dalai Lama and representatives of the Chinese people so that we can solve the issue of Tibet peacefully. That is our hope.
At the talk organized by the Tibet Policy Institute that was attended by sympathizers and supporters of the Tibetan people, a report on cultural genocide in mainland Tibet was also released. The report accuses the Chinese dispensation of engineering an ethnic imbalance in Tibet by infusing people from mainland China and destroying Tibetan monasteries. It says that curbs are being enforced on ethnic Tibetans on following their cultural practices and language.
Tibetan Buddhist civilization is happening, beginning with 98% of monasteries and nunneries destroyed, 99.9% of monks and nuns disrobed. This is based on a report by late Panchen Lama, who submitted it to the Chinese leadership, including Mao Zedong and Zhou Enlai, who called the report poison arrow. Since then, the destruction has gone on. Essentially, the Chinese government policy is to make Tibet into Chinatown, Chinese into Tibetan people. And they're doing it with a deliberate strategy and a systematic implementation of, uprooting and destroying Tibetan identity and culture.
The Tibetan government in exile functions from Dharamshala in Himachal Pradesh. It is seeking a resolution of the Tibetan issue in a way that gives them right to follow their culture and way of living with full political autonomy.
Communist Party members and officials, actually it's Tibet, and Tibetan people should be majority. But now Chinese are majority even in the local Communist Party of Tibet. So that's how demographically, authoritatively, systematically, they are trying to assimilate Tibetans into Chinese. Hence, this report, the cultural genocide in Tibet, is taking place.
While the Indian government generally follows a policy of non-interference on Tibet, the Chinese government frowns upon providing shelter to Tibetans, and India has always been in favor of a peaceful resolution of the Tibetan issue so that the Dalai Lama and his followers in India could eventually return to their homeland.
The way China is increasing its political and economic clout all over the world, it would have been best thing that it should have resolved the Tibetan issue. And the best thing that Tibetans are peaceful in their movement and in their attitude. It can help China to resolve the issue. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha television with camera person Raj Thakur in Delhi.
Well, Oil Minister Dharmendra Pradhan is on a 3-day visit to Japan to participate in the 6th annual LNG Producers Consumer Conference. The visit aims to enhance the bilateral engagements in the oil and gas sectors within the overall framework of India-Japan Energy Dialogue. On the first day of his visit, the minister, along with his delegation, took a ride on the bullet train to reach the Kanto Polytechnic College. Sharing pictures on Twitter, Pradhan said modern machinery, training tools and right local ecosystem have helped such institutes in Japan to develop highly skilled employable workforce. During the visit, Pradhan is also scheduled to discuss the issues of bilateral engagement in the hydrocarbon sector with his Japanese counterpart, Hiroshige Seiku. Well, the newly appointed chairman of the Film and Television Institute of India, Anupam Kher, made a surprise visit to the campus today. At the campus, the veteran actor interacted with students of 2016 batch who are protesting over academic issues and assured them of fulfilling their demands. After his appointment on the 11th October, the FTII students' body had written an open letter to the actor pointing out their issues. Kher said he was open to talks and would resolve the issues. Kher also took an acting class at the campus and had lunch with the students. Anupam Kher is succeeding Gajendra Chauhan, who faced harsh opposition from students in the campus.
We'll try and work out whatever we have spoken about it. मुझे लगता है कि किसी भी इंस्टीट्यूशन में जितने भी स्टूडेंट्स आते हैं वो कुछ सीखने ही आते हैं और अगर उनके कुछ इशू होते हैं तो उनको सॉल्व करना बहुत ज़रूरी है. I want to start this whole my term on a very optimistic note and on a note that I want to do things. And that's what we had. And I did my first acting class today, जहाँ पर मैं खुद भी acting सीखता था.
Well, Nupur and Rajesh Talwar walked out of Dasna jail today, 4 days after being declared innocent of murdering their daughter Arushi and domestic help Hemraj in 2008. The Allahabad High Court had last Thursday cancelled the life sentence handed out to the Talwars by a lower court that had convicted them based on circumstantial evidence. Their release was delayed because a copy of the verdict had not been delivered to the jail last week. Officials say that the dentist couple has offered to visit the prison every fortnight to treat prisoners. Rajya Sabha Deputy Chairman P.J. Kurian met with Uzbekistan envoy Hod Arziev today. In the meeting, the ambassador said that Uzbekistan is willing to study the Indian parliamentary system in detail to strengthen the democratic values of their country. The ambassador said that a delegation will soon be visiting India. Addressing the media, P.J. Kurian said that they talked about issues like counter-terrorism and economic cooperation. The two countries have also formed a joint task force against terrorism. Uzbekistan has also showed interest in trade with India in pharma and textile sectors. Currently, the trade between the two countries stands at $300 million, which India wants to increase to $1 billion. Uzbekistan has also backed India's bid for a permanent seat at the United Nations Security Council.
There wants to make certain changes, improve, and the parliamentary functioning. Therefore, they would like to study our functioning. So, they would like to send a delegation, and I warmly welcome the delegation. I told that we are looking forward to receive them. We mentioned issue of terrorism, and I thank them also for taking a very strong and solid stand against terrorism. And yes, see, they are a, I should say, perfectly secular country. Yes, it is a majority Islamic country, majority 80% are Muslims, but the country is secular. That is something we should also understand.
Well, it's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Bringing in the bureaucrats was also a message to the outgoing people that, look, if you don't perform, we can get in the bureaucrats to do the job.
Everybody has to perform, and if somebody doesn't perform, he's out. And that applies also equally to us who are now being brought in from the bureaucracy.
The Christians normally have remained quite wary of BJP and, its objectives. How are you really going to bridge that trust deficit?
We need somebody with a backbone to manage India.
Political violence in Kerala is also some kind of a symptom of a political intolerance.
There's a huge space for development politics. This is what we focus on. We are kind of painted in your media as being right.
Watch To The Point with Union Tourism Minister KJ Alphonse only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Now let's get you the latest on the US wildfires. On Monday, firefighters contained 2 of the 3 worst wildfires in Northern California, while a number of evacuees were allowed to head home. At least 40 people have died and more than 200 people are still reported missing. With more than a dozen fires still burning, 11,000 firefighters are not only battling the blazes but painstakingly combing the rubble in incinerated neighborhoods looking for victims. At least 217,000 acres have burned, while an estimated 5,700 structures have been destroyed by one of the worst outbreaks of wildfires in the United States. The California fire officials confirmed 75,000 people have been evacuated so far and will continue in Sonoma County, where the fires are yet to be controlled.
To the west, I saw this wall of flame come over the hill. I jumped in my car, Some neighbors across the valley from me saw me drive down, and the flames overtook the entire house. It was that close.
Optimistic and resilient. That's what we're trying to do, because, you know, we get the times when we think about the house and everything we lost, but those are losses. That's the past. The future awaits. So we'll just grip it, rip it, and have fun.
Well, Iraqi forces took control of roads and infrastructure near Kirkuk from Kurdish fighters as tensions soared after a controversial independence referendum. A military statement said Iraqi units took control of the K1 military base, the Baba Gurgur oil and gas field, the Kirkuk power station and state-owned North Oil Company's office. Media reports said that Kurdish fighters abandoned their positions outside Kirkuk's airport while civilians fled the city in the wake of the gunfire. The Kurdistan Regional Security Council said in a statement that Iraqi forces attacked Kurdish fighters using US military equipment, including Abrams tanks and Humvees. The military offensive comes after 3 weeks of escalating tensions since the Kurds voted overwhelmingly in favor of statehood on September 25th. Well, in Somalia, the death toll in Saturday's explosion has risen to 276 with over 300 injured. Authorities say this is one of the deadliest blasts to hit the African nation since the onset of Al-Shabaab insurgency in 2007. A vehicle loaded with explosives went off at a busy square in the capital Mogadishu, leaving behind a trail of death and destruction.
200 killed and more than 250 injured in one of the deadliest attacks in Somalia in recent years. A vehicle loaded with explosives exploding at KM5, the junction in a prosperous area in downtown Mogadishu, the country's capital, on Saturday. The area houses many hotels, shopping malls and government agencies. Those killed were mostly civilians, some government staff members, diplomatic personnel and journalists. The police say 2 hours later, another blast struck the capital's Medina district.
dad badan oo meedaha la keenay oo cid garan karta aan jirin oo dhuxul noqday oo fara badan dhibaatooyin dhacday.
No group has claimed responsibility for the blast, but the Somali government blamed Al-Shabaab, the Al-Qaeda-linked group that has staged similar attacks in the past.
falkii maanta dhacay ee foosh xumaa inuu ahaa mid ay shabaabka iyo nabadiidku ay la beegsadeen shacab Soomaaliyeed aan waxba galabsan taasoo ka turjumaysa cadaawadda ay u qabaan guud ahaan shacabka Soomaaliyeed aysan ku wajahnayn xarumaha dawladda iyo dadka dawladda u shaqeeya. walaalayaal, weerarkan naxariis darrada ah wuxuu ahaa mid lala beegsaday dad aan waxba galabsan oo ku mashquulsanaa nolol maalmeedkooda caadiga ah.
The president declaring 3 days of mourning for the victims of the blast and calling on all Somali people to unite and fight against terrorism.
waxaan shacabka Soomaaliyeed ugu baaqayaa inay u midoobaan cadowga banaystay dhiigooda iyo maalkooda una taagan inuu carqaladeeyo nabadgelyada. waxaan uga adkaan karnaa cadowgaas inagoo mideenna maskaxdeenna maalkeenna iyo muruqeenna meelna aan iska dhigno kala qaybsanaanshaha aan u adeegayn danaha qarankeenna. ugu dambeyn waxaan hay'adaha amniga farayaa inay adkeeyaan nabadgelyada si ay uga hortagaan dhagarta Al-Shabaab.
A nationwide blood donation campaign currently on, the president among the first to join it.
qof walba muuji galabta la isku soo baxo dhalinyaro ay soo baxa waa lidin gumaad ma yeelina soo baxa ha laga dhiidhiyo maanta ha noo noqoto 10 aan weliya nagu soo laaban.
Angry protesters taking to the street in Mogadishu on Sunday following the blasts.
wadankayna dadaa ku giibsaday dadaa ku dheerahaya wadankayna dad male dad waa leeyahay laakiin waa la kala iibsaday waa la kala iibsaday marka dhibaatan haysato 20 iyo 30 sano dhibaato ku jirna ilaahay hanaga dul qaadan leenahay.
Security has been beefed up all across Mogadishu after the blast that is one of the deadliest in the country since the Al-Shabaab group launched its insurgency in 2007. Somalia, a country in the Horn of Africa, has been suffering from political turbulence for years. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, here's a roundup now of summer news from across the world in Global Buzz. Catalan leader Carles Puigdemont failed to clarify on Monday whether he had declared Catalonia's independence from Spain last week, paving the way for the central government to take control of the region and rule it directly. Spain's Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy gave time to Puigdemont until 16th October to clarify his position and October 19th to change his mind on a split, and said Madrid would suspend Catalonia's autonomy if he chooses independence. Hurricane Ophelia is heading for the UK, bringing 80 miles per hour winds in what forecasters have warned will be mayhem Monday. In the Republic of Ireland, the Met Department has issued a red wind warning, and the government has deployed the army as there are chances that Northern Ireland could be hit later today. A yellow warning of very windy weather has also been issued for parts of Scotland, the west and north of England and Wales. The ruling United Socialist Party of Venezuela won at least 17 of Venezuela's 23 regional governorship elections on Sunday, but the opposition party refused to recognize the results and demanded a complete audit. The National Electoral Council president said that the turnout was around 61.14% and the opposition Democratic Unity Roundtable obtained just 5 governorships. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro said that they recognized the result of the elections in all the announcements made by the CNE. Well, let's bring you up to speed with some news from the world of sports in Sports Beat. In the Hockey Asia Cup, India defeated arch rivals Pakistan 3-1 in a pool encounter in Dhaka. Earlier, India defeated Japan 5-1 and hosts Bangladesh 7-0. Chiglansana scored the opener in the 17th minute, while Ramandeep Singh's 44th minute goal and Harmanpreet Singh's 45th minute goal helped India to clinch the victory. Pakistan's lone strike came from Ali Shan in the 49th minute.
Very nearly a goal for Lalit, but not quite.
In tennis, Switzerland's Roger Federer defeated world number 1 Rafael Nadal 6-4, 6-3 to win the Shanghai Masters on Sunday to register his 4th victory of the year over his Spanish rival. Federer took an hour and 12 minutes to claim his 6th title of the year. In cycling, Italy's Diego Ulissi won the Tour of Turkey after Sam Bennett crashed out in Istanbul on Sunday. Ireland's Bennett, who had already won 4 stages, was on the 2nd place behind his teammate Matteo Pellucci, slid out on the bend. Ulissi, who took the overall lead after winning stages 4, finished the final stage at 6 to secure victory. That's it on this newscast. Do stay tuned for the big picture on the other side of the short break.